Welcome to a special RadioRadioX music video interview. I am your host, Justin Smulison, proud contributor to RadioRadioX. My guest today is Mr. Steve Mignano. He is the singer and guitar player and creative driving force of a fantastic hard rock, bluesy metal band coming out of New Orleans, talking about Drab. Their self-titled debut was recently re-released by Wormhole Death Records, and you are hearing a clip of one of the lead singles, The Lonely Place. I was really struck by this record. It's got all sorts of fantastic influences being pushed through, as we're going to discuss, and you can hear it right now during the clip of The Lonely Place. So we're going to talk with Steve about how the band is making an impact in New Orleans and Louisiana and plans for beyond. They've got some live shows coming up that we're going to plug during the interview and during the closing, and we're going to play some clips and just have a lot of fun. This is perfect summertime music in my opinion, so I'm really delighted to be presenting this now, just ahead of July 4th. This is the sort of stuff I want to listen to when I'm out at the beach or having a good time at a brewery or something like that. So let's get to it. RadioRadioX audiences worldwide, please welcome all the way from Louisiana, Steve Mignano of Drab. Welcome to RadioRadioX.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Sure thing. Now, right off the bat, a lot of rock and roll going on with Drab. It is not, as this logo and name would suggest, it is not as drab as you would think, as one would think.
Thank you. Yeah, it's sort of an ironic name.
Yeah.
I mean, mostly I liked how it sounded phonetically. It's just blunt.
Yeah.
And memorable in a way.
All right, excellent. And now Drab, the first album is self-titled, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the one that's available now through Wormhole Death Records, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So that's the one I've really been going through a lot lately, and I just wanted to also call this out because I want to make sure that I'm in the loop here. Is Drab a trio or are you a quartet when you're live?
It initially started as a trio, and when we recorded the album, almost every song has two guitar parts, which I recorded myself, but I felt like it needed a little bit more breadth live. So oftentimes we add a second guitar live to sort of fill out the sound and reproduce the album live a little bit better.
Okay, yeah, because there's four of you in the press photo.
Right, so it could be a quartet or trio depending on the night,
Right. And so when Drab is in the studio, are you a trio or a quartet?
Right now we've been working as a trio.
Got it. Okay. Now I would think, and I will have said this during the intro anyway, but tell everyone what you do for Drab.
I'm the vocalist, and I play guitar, and also the principal songwriter.
Right. Okay. So here we are. We got the creative force of the band here. And is it tough being in a trio? I've found that sometimes trios say that they find it very freeing because there's one less voice in the room, but others feel very restricted by having one less voice in the room. You tell me.
You'd think it would pose limitations, but in many situations it doesn't. One of the things that's fun about it is that each member in a trio sort of has a lot of sonic space to fill.
Yeah.
So you can, but then on the other hand, you can't really have any weak links or it just doesn't work. So each member has to be very man their post in a very strong way in order to have a big sounding trio.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't find it limiting in any way. Another good thing I like about trios is that it sort of like triangulates the energy of everybody's performance a little bit.
Yeah.
So they tend to be they hit a little bit harder if you're doing it right,
Right. Sure. Are there, I guess, are there any trios that you look to for inspiration, or is it just, hey, we just happen to be a trio?
I've just always gravitated towards trios. Most of the bands I've been in have been trios. So I guess it's also something that I'm just used to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of trios down there?
It's not like there was a concept involved of like, oh, we're going to be a power trio. It just sort of happened that way.
Yeah. Do you feel though, I could see where for you as the singer and guitarist, it must be a little bit easier on stage when you've got a fourth guy up there. It's just so you can move around a little bit more and maybe be a little freer with your guitar playing or your singing.
It's less of a juggling act.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Excellent. Because I always wonder about that when you compose a song, do you have to keep in mind the idea that you're singing and playing at the same time? Does that change how you compose a song?
We put in enough hours that it's pretty fluid, but it's still a compromise in one direction or the other. You know, like you can only focus on so much at once. So if I'm like clicking pedals on and off and singing and making and also hitting solos and different guitar parts, it can be a lot.
Yeah.
And offloading some of that to a second guitar can often make life easier and also enable me to focus on one thing or another a little bit better.
Yeah. Now, you're from New Orleans?
Yes.
Or Louisiana?
Yeah. New Orleans proper.
Okay, great. I'm not from New Orleans. I've been there a couple of times. I'm a big fan of, there it is. All right. Can you see it?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I keep the can because I'm a real fan there. That's from Cafe du Monde for anybody who doesn't know. But there's always a lot of lore coming out of the music from New Orleans, I would say. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no place in the world like it. And the whole city has this sort of mystique. And there's so much going on culturally and creatively in terms of music in particular, but also art and also film lately in the last few years.
Yeah. And yeah, because I've been there. Last time I was there was 2019. And then I think the time before that was 2003. And otherwise, I just live vicariously through the food that I send away for from Cafe du Monde. So I still get my chicory hit every year. Do you drink your coffee that way?
I'm more of an espresso guy myself.
Okay.
And there's like plenty of decent coffee shops sort of peppered throughout the city, but I have my favorites, personally.
Excellent. Okay. So Steve, you've got this album. Was your debut? Came out in what year?
I think it was 2021. It was the initial release, and we went on to record some newer material since then. And then I was contacted by Wormhole Death about doing a distributorship of the first album, which seemed like the right move because it would open the album up to new markets that we didn't necessarily have access to. Because at this point we're just touring regionally. So I thought it would be a good next step to sort of grow our audience.
Well, clearly it's working because I never would have heard of it otherwise. Unless by some wonderful chance I would have found it through Bandcamp. And so I think the lead track and the lead single is "Lonely Place." Tell us a little bit about that. Why was that the one to set the tone?
I feel like every band sort of has a song that encapsulates their sound. It's got a little bit of everything. It's like a buffet of everything the band has to offer. And I think Lonely Place is that song, and it's you could view it as it's almost like a couple different songs mixed together.
Because it sort of stops midway through. Yeah.
But I think it covers a lot of ground.
And when you write, are you a singer first and a guitarist second, or are you guitarist first and a singer second?
Guitar first.
Yeah.
I still view myself, I've played guitar for quite a bit longer than I've been a singer. Mm-hmm. And, earlier on, I just played guitar in bands and, backed up another vocalist. So
sure.
For me, I still view myself as a guitar player first. In this other band that I'm in, Garguts, for example, I only sing. I don't play guitar. It's the first band I've been in where I'm just a vocalist.
Right. So you feel a little bit more naked? You feel more naked that way without the guitar to hide behind?
No, I love it.
Oh, really?
I love it. It's like after playing guitar for years, I sort of welcome not playing guitar.
A little bit easier on your back and your neck too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there it is. But Drab debut, right, so Lonely Place kicks things off. It's kind of like you're saying, I don't want to say it stops in the middle, but it takes a left turn in the middle. And then Huntress just picks right up, like full-on rock and roll right there.
Yeah, it's that one is full tilt at it starts at a full gallop.
Mm-hmm. And do you think about the sequencing of an album, or do you just throw it on there except for the opening track?
On this first album in particular, there was quite a bit of thought that went into the track listing, because it's sort of supposed to be taken as a single work. The whole album is one thing in many ways, made up of different parts. And we did want it to flow together like a movie or something like that, where it sort of, starts off strong, has different peaks and valleys in the middle, and then ends strong also.
Excellent. Yeah, I would say so. And then I would also say that for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet, if it's somewhere, here's what I find fascinating about the Drab debut. It's somewhere in between the Black Keys, the Black Crowes, and Black Sabbath. And so there's a theme there. But
I like it.
but you found this bluesy rock, sometimes metal vibe with a little bit of that Cajun seasoning thrown on there, and there it is. That's what I'm getting from Drab.
Yeah, I like that description, and I guess there wasn't a whole lot of premeditation that went into that. It's just sort of a combination of the stuff that we've listened to over the years, and that sort of like soaked in.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff kind of comes out unconsciously. I came up initially playing blues guitar, and then branched out more into hard rock and metal. So, and of course, New Orleans has its own signature metal scene, and that's been a heavy influence on a lot of the riffs.
Right, because you can hear the bluesmanship, if that's a word, in your playing, but also, I'm a fan of Down and Ex-Hoarder and bands like that, so I can hear where some of that makes its way in. It's not more in a doom metal way than anything else. It's definitely, I don't hear a whole lot of thrash going on, so it's not really that. A little bit of a touch of the sludge too, maybe.
All of those influences are definitely present, hanging over the album for sure. I mean, they're undeniable. So especially as a rock or metal band from New Orleans, those are sort of the patriarchs of New Orleans metal, and we pay a lot of respect to them.
Yeah. You ever see Kyle Thomas just walking down the street?
Oh yeah, Garguts opened for Alabama Thunder Pussy. He's now the lead vocalist for.
Is he really?
Months ago, we did a show with Suplex, which is another great New Orleans band, and Alabama Thunder Pussy, and they were phenomenal. And he's a phenomenal vocalist. He's a big inspiration.
Yeah, I met him. Ex-Hoarder did a show a couple of years ago here in Huntington, and they opened for Overkill. And I got a chance to take a picture with him afterward. So cool guy.
Yeah, I could say another great thing about the New Orleans music scene is that all of these heroes that you have in your formative years are very accessible here. Like they do a lot of local shows, and they're just, it's very easy to talk to them or go to their shows, and it's very laid back and casual in that way.
Excellent. So if you are going to make a trip to New Orleans, just keep your eyes open. You might see a metal trailblazer walking down the street, just going to get a coffee or something.
It's not uncommon.
It's not. All right, there you go. So tell us what's been happening since the original release of the Drab debut. You've got some new songs and tracks up on Bandcamp, and what's the strategy been since then? We're taking our time as far as developing our sound. Okay.
And letting it evolve kind of organically. And we still primarily work with Jack Mealy, and we released a single called Tyrannic last year that was produced by the UK producer Adrian Bushby.
Yes.
He's worked with Foo Fighters and Muse and Placebo and a few other bands. And he liked what Drab was doing and approached us about working on a single. And that was definitely like a level up in many ways.
Yeah. What did he bring to the table?
Well, just genius kind of.
Oh, really?
I could say as far as like the initial mix down, well, the tracking was done by Jack Mealy here in New Orleans, and we were able to, send it off to Adrian to mix and master. And I could say as far as mixing engineers go, that was one of the only times we've gotten the first mix back, and it was almost perfect right out of the gate.
Wow.
Didn't need much tweaking. He just understood what we were going for and understood how to make it sound fresh. And yeah, I mean, his reputation speaks for itself.
Yeah, there you go. Are you going to keep working with him as more tracks are recorded? Is that
We
the
would
plan?
love to.
Yeah.
We would love to.
Excellent. So we've got, because you've got, at least from what I can see here, about 4 or 5, at least 5 more singles that you've released since 2022. So are you going to take these and compile them, put them on the next album, or are they going to be completely brand new songs the next time out?
I think the reason why we chose to release singles is because they were all so different that they didn't, I didn't think that necessarily an album was the best way to release them. Each of these singles is very unique. And so there's no, so there's no like overall concept that would bind them together. So also the way that music is released now, where it's mostly digital media and streaming, albums can be hit or miss. And so we're trying different approaches. I think a lot of bands just release like 3 to 4 song EPs now. So we're trying different approaches and seeing what kind of sticks, but there is some advantages to releasing a full album as like a complete work.
Right. Now, is there a physical release available of Drab's debut?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now it's being handled by Wormhole Death. So the best way to get it is through their website. There's physical copies, there's vinyl, there's CDs. And of course, like the downloads, the digital release also is extremely high quality. So there's any way you choose to go, it's sonically very good.
Yeah. I would imagine, I'm not a vinyl guy per se, but I would imagine the vinyl being a good quality purchase right there. Just based on the vibe that you get from the album. There's some late 70s howling going on there, and then you've got like the rebirth of everything from the modern era. You really did a great job of capturing a certain rawness, but with a crisp sound.
Vinyl's my favorite personally. Yeah. And so I took that into account when we were recording it. And one of the things that the producer of the first album, Jack Mealy, we have a really good relationship, and we've worked together on other projects as well. One of the things we talked about was capturing the analog era of music on that album. And I don't want to say that I'm like trying to rehash old ideas, but I definitely wanted it to sound like the albums that I listened to growing up.
Of course. Yeah, I think that's a totally valid thing to say. I think a lot of artists feel the same way. Of course.
Yeah, totally. And I think he was very instrumental in being able to achieve that with his knowledge of recording.
Yeah. All right. So we got Drab has 4 shows that I could see here on drabnola.com listed. July 9th at The Goat in New Orleans. The Pit at Epic on Saturday, July 26th in Scott, Louisiana. And you have a private event in Vacherie,
yeah.
Vacherie. And then that's on August 16th. Doesn't matter, private event. And on August 29th, you're going to be at the Chafuncta Brewery in Mandeville.
Yeah. So we're sort of, at this point, branching out regionally and sort of building our audience outside of New Orleans.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There you go. And I would imagine that, man, if I heard you guys at a brewery, I could see myself, buying the album right then and there, because that's a good brewery album if I could think of one right now. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. It's gigs like that enable us to really unleash what we're doing.
Yeah, I can see it, especially if you get nice weather that day and you can just belt it out. Also wanted to ask you, speaking of belting things out, are you a trained singer, or did you just pick up a mic one day because nobody else wanted to do it?
I first started singing maybe 12 years ago or something, and it was sort of a default thing. It was like, I became the de facto frontman.
Right.
And, I always kind of wanted to be more of a Jimmy Page, hiding behind the vocalist. But I took to it, and singing is sort of like learning another instrument. So there was a fair bit of learning vocal techniques, and I still feel like I'm finding my own voice and
Yeah.
learning where my limitations are and trying to push them.
Yeah, no, you're doing a great job. And I think that your voice fits the music really well. And if you like any of those aforementioned bands that have the word black in their title, then you'd like Drab, I would think. And so, Steve, I'm going to let you go in a moment, but we've plugged the tour. We know that there's going to be a follow-up, which is going to be fantastic, I'm sure. And do you have anything else that you want to say? You know, obviously, up-and-coming band, trying to branch out. What do you want to say to anybody who's hearing about Drab for the first time?
I guess, you know, a good starting point would be check out the first album on Wormhole Death Records, and keep an eye out for the new stuff we're doing, because it's definitely developing.
Okay. And if people reach out on social, are they going to get a response from Steve Mignano?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I try to respond to as many messages as I can.
All right. Well, you got a great album, and I'm going to dive back into the new tracks on Bandcamp as well. And they're all available. All the links are on this interview show notes. You did a great job for your first time out, even though I know you're not a new musician. For the band's first time out, I think it's fantastic. It really made an impact on me. And I look forward to seeing how you follow it up.
I appreciate that very much. And I thank you for having me on.
Special thanks again to Steve Mignano of Drab for joining us here on RadioRadioX. We love supporting local artists, no matter where they are. At the top and during the interview, you heard a clip of Lonely Place. Also during the interview, you heard a clip of The Huntress, and now we are hearing a clip of Stand Up. These are all off of the self-titled re-release of Drab, available from Wormhole Death Records. Check out drabnola, drabnola.com for more information about all things Drab, and check them out on Bandcamp as they've released some new songs since this self-titled debut's release. And if you plan to be in Louisiana this summer, check out Drab, Saturday, June 28th at Gasa Gasa in New Orleans, and then July 9th at The Goat in New Orleans. On Saturday, July 26th, they'll be at the Pit at Epic in Scott, Louisiana. Then on Friday, August 15th, they will be at the Hitch in Ponchatoula, Louisiana. They're at a private event on Saturday, August 16th in Vacherie, Louisiana, and they will close out the summer on August 29th at Chafunkta Brewery in Mandeville, Louisiana. Reach out to the band, talk to Steve, and as always, make sure you make legitimate purchases of music, merch, and tickets to support hardworking artists like those in Drab. Be sure to head on over to RadioRadioX.com for all things music. We've got reviews, we've got interviews, we've got all sorts of great content. I've got an interview with local drumming favorite Jason Bittner of Shadows Fall and Category 7. And another iconic metal drummer, Mark Zonder, formerly of Fate's Warning and now with Warlord and A through Z. And another with powerhouse drummer Sean Duncan of LA Guns. I've also got interviews with John Bush, the singer of Category 7 and Armored Saint, and Flotsam and Jetsam guitarist Michael Gilbert, and more. I'd like to thank Art and Rob and everyone over there at the RadioRadioX headquarters. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and all social channels. And be sure to keep coming back to RadioRadioX.com for more updates. I've got more video interviews on the way as well. I am Justin Smulison, new contributor here at RadioRadioX. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's more on the way.